Teacher. My name is Erica Anderson, your host, and normally I'm coming to you each month interviewing an interview subject about what I've written for the blog, but this month I'm coming to you just me. So I hope that you enjoy this. We're going to be talking today about tips for publishing your first nonfiction book. Now, I know lots of people say they'd love to publish a book. They'd love to see their name, printed on a bookshelf. But I want to let you know it's not a pipe dream. I have published 2 books, one that came out in 2018 and one that's coming out in January of 2023. And I'm one of those people who always had a dream of publishing a book, but I wasn't sure how to make it happen. I didn't think that it would ever actually happen. But through a series of fortunate events and also a little hard work and digging and educating myself on how to get it done, I was able to do it, and thrilled to be able to get a second book deal and publish. But please note, you don't have to get a book deal in order to publish a book. You can self-publish, and I've seen a lot of people do it well. So I'm just going to go over some of my top tips for how to write and publish a nonfiction book. Now, nonfiction is my expertise. Fiction is a little bit different, but considering a lot of the people here at America's Future are working in policy issues, or you're, in the thick of your careers, centered on something that is something you care about, maybe a nonfiction book is what you're looking to write. And so here is what I have to speak with you guys about today. There are some secrets of the trade that you wouldn't know unless you went digging. So I want to tell you a few things. First of all, if you're writing a book for money or fame, you're not going to get very far. Even the largest advance for a first-time author is pretty small. We're talking thousands of dollars for the many, many hours that you put in. You're going to end up making about 5 cents an hour. But no, really, you should have heart and purpose behind the book before you even begin. And second, ask yourself, do you have the expertise in the subject matter to thoroughly and accurately write about it? What makes you a good person to write this particular book? Ask yourself that question. Something that you want to confidently map out. And do you have a sufficient target market in mind that might be interested in reading your book? You may be an expert in, grasshopper mating habits, but probably not a lot of people are going to want to read that. So be thinking about how are you going to market this book to an audience? Who cares about this subject matter? So moving on, number 1, start with a book proposal. I knew nothing about writing book proposals when I began, but I was told, hey, this is where you start. Now, it seemed at first like a very long, drawn out, monotonous process. I thought, I want to write the book. I don't want to write this proposal. But what you'll find about writing a book proposal is it really sets you up to be in a good place in order to actually write the book. So the book proposal process is pretty straightforward. I actually just bought a book the first time I did this called Book Proposals and Query Letters for Dummies. I highly recommend just grabbing a copy of that. I went straight according to the structure that they recommended there, and I produced what I think was a pretty good book proposal. I got lots of interest in it. And so essentially what it does is it helps you really get your idea tight, your target market, as well as the chapters and what you're going to be writing. You're really forced to think about how you want to structure this book, what exactly you're going to write about, what are the stories and details you're going to put in there. So that when you're done with the book proposal, you're actually much more ready to sit down and take on the actual writing of the book because you've got things a little bit more organized in your head. Number 2, interview experts. No matter what you're writing about, and no matter how knowledgeable you think you may be, getting the insight of experts outside of yourself is invaluable. And so you may use those as quotes in the book. You may just be using them as background. But line up interviews with other people in this field of work and make sure you're reaching out to them. Make sure you're on the page that you need to be on, and you're not, getting off onto some weird tangent of a place that, maybe people aren't really that interested in. Number 3, study other successful books in the marketplace. So this is one of the things that you'll find as you write your book proposal. You'll have to pick a few books that are similar to yours that were successful. And so looking at those books and seeing what made them successful. What was it about these particular books, these subject matters, and these target audiences that drew people to them? How can you imitate that in some way? Of course, your book is going to be different. It's going to have its own unique set of qualities and things that you're talking about and people you're reaching out to, but really thinking about how those successful books of a similar nature drew people in is going to be an important part of your thought process. Number 4, sketch out your target reader. Sometimes people call this an avatar. It's used in business, it's used everywhere, but you need to think about who is going to read this book. What do they look like? What do they do on a daily basis? What are, as we've heard in marketing so often, what are their felt needs? What questions are you answering for them? What problems are you solving for them? One of the things I was told when I was writing my books is write your book to one person. Who is that one person you are writing to? Otherwise, you'll be thinking too broadly, but you want to get an archetype of a person in your head and be writing to that person. Number 5, use the note card method. Okay, so once you've got your proposal, that really helps you get organized. But something that I used when I was writing my second book is the note card method. So I got a whole bunch of different colored index cards, like extra large index cards. And I took each chapter and sort of, if I didn't have a title, just put the chapter or the theme or the subject or whatever on each card. And then you fill in underneath each card with other cards of the things that you're going to write about. So for example, you'd see chapter one, and then underneath it, you might have, I'm going to put this story in chapter 1. I'm going to put this quote in chapter 1. I'm going to put this reference in chapter 1. And so you're sort of laying everything out in a way that you can visually see it before you put it on the paper. This gets you one step further into writing the book so that when you sit down to write that chapter, you're not just going from scratch. You're filling in the things that you've already brainstormed. And brainstorming is a huge part of this process. You want to brainstorm as much as you can. Number 6 is block out writing time. People always ask me, how did you write a book? You've got kids, you work full time. How did you do it? And I did it by blocking out writing time. So I would, for a series of months, every single Saturday, get up and go to a coffee shop and do nothing but work on this book. I'm very thankful to my husband for letting me do that. We have 2 little kids, but I couldn't have done it unless I had sketched out this particular time only for book writing. I wouldn't work on anything else. And so you've got to find a way to fit that into your schedule if you want to get it done in any kind of, logical amount of time. Number 7, keep a notepad or a digital notepad with you. You just never know when something's going to strike you that could fit in your book, whether it is a passing conversation you hear on the bus or a quote that you see written on a sidewalk, something. These little tidbits that can become part of your book, part of your story, examples, ideas, comparisons, all kinds of things, they will slip from your memory if you don't write them down. And sometimes the best examples can come from just these random moments in life where you're not even thinking about your book. And so keep a notepad so that you can just quickly jot it down and come back to it later. Otherwise, you're going to miss a lot of, examples that may be really helpful for your book. Number 8, use an organizational program like Scrivener. So there are all kinds of different programs you can use to organize your book. My first book I wrote on Word documents. Don't recommend that. It gets very confusing and hard to navigate. Second time around, I used a program called Scrivener. I think it costs about $50. And essentially, there's a lot of things you can do with Scrivener. But the most helpful thing for me, and I basically just use the basic side of it, is that it allows you to break up your book by chapters. So you don't have to search, scroll down 50 pages. You just go, here's the tab for chapter 1. And it allows you to go into chapter 1. It allows you a place for links and references and notes and all kinds of things that you want to include. So in essence, it's just a digital organization tool. But I found it really helpful for not getting overwhelmed and being able to look at one chapter at a time. Okay, number 9, don't forget the arc. So this may not be fiction, but nonfiction needs an arc too. Otherwise, why will people keep reading the book? You need to give them something to look forward to feel like they're moving forward and to feel like they have a reason to read till the end. So each chapter should end with a little mystery. Give them a little treat to show them, hey, you got to keep reading or you're not going to figure out all the secrets or you're not going to find out all the information. So be thinking about arc throughout the book, but then throughout each chapter as well. And number 10, always remember the reader. I know this may seem obvious because it's your book, but it isn't about you. It's about the reader. How are you speaking to the reader's needs? How are you answering their questions? How are you comforting them? How are you reassuring them? How are you making them feel like this is money well spent? So always take it back to the reader when you have a question. You want them to walk away feeling like they have made steps forward. They have learned what they wanted to learn. They have made progress in their life in some way. Now, I know this is just a very quick list and I could talk much longer about each one of them, but I wanted to give you just a start, just some of the thoughts that I've had and wanted to share with people about writing nonfiction. If you have a book idea, it is possible to make it a reality. You just have to be diligent, have a purpose, and stick with it. Make a commitment to it. So I wish you luck in all of your book writing, and I hope that I will see some of your bylines in bookstores. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Happy to answer them. You can reach out to me on social media, twitter.com/Erica Anderson, or Instagram, Erica_Anderson. All the places, Erica Anderson, and you can check out my books on Amazon. Just Google my name and you'll find both of them. Thank you so much, and it was great to talk with you guys today.